We're live.
Woo! Woo! Hi, everybody.
Hi. All of you 0 people who are out there. Oh, we have people.
What's up, everybody?
So exciting.
Welcome to our backyard.
So, this is Katie and Corinne of Birdhorse Wines, and I'm Andrea of Mortar Pestle Cooking.
But today you will call her chef.
No,
Okay. You will not
Just
call her
Andrea.
just Andrea.
Okay.
And we are making Cassoulet Vert today with this delicious Carignan.
Yum.
So that's what these two make because they're awesome.
And we'd like to give a special shout out to our dear friends at Miracle Plum,
Woo!
who have everything you're going to see today available for purchase. So if you like what you see at the end of this, you can buy, other than us, all of the ingredients will be available to you at Miracle Plum.
Yes. So while Corinne and Katie are opening that bottle of wine for us, I am going to tell you a little bit about what we're making today. And this recipe will, I'll post the recipe so you can make it at home as well. But what we're doing is Cassoulet Vert, which is braised beans basically with herbs and, braised beans with herbs and greens. And we're using these Cassoulet beans from Rancho Gordo, if you can see that, which are delicious. And I soaked them overnight. And then they've been braising for a couple of hours now with some kombu, which this is foraged from the Sonoma coast.
What? She went out in the ocean and got it herself.
We did, but you can go on a foraging class if you live in the Sonoma area or the Napa area with Forage SF. And this is from, or you could get strong arm kombu, or other seaweeds, which are dried seaweeds in the area. And I went foraging with her for this, so that was a lot of fun. And I see that the beans are boiling away, so hold on a second.
Oh yeah, sorry, I tried to turn them down.
I'm just gonna
Do-do-do.
turn it off.
Perfect.
Okay.
Super.
Super bueno.
Oh man. So we're drinking our Carignan 2019 that Corinne and I make for our project Birdhorse Wines.
Yeah.
Yay! Which you can get at Miracle Plum, like we said.
You sure can.
And this wine comes from Mendocino County, just outside of Hopland, a vineyard called Faley's Creek. Dry farmed, really beautiful old head train vines.
Mixed planting for timing. Some of the vines were planted in the 1920s, and the other section of vine was planted back in the 1940s. And it's a very cool, old, gnarly vineyard on the Mendocino benchland, and it was super fun to work with. We felt, because old vines are beautiful and have their own challenges, and so when we were perusing the vineyard during the growing season, it was really fascinating because some of the vines are so old, they ripen really disparately, and so by the time we decided to pick, we had this wine that from some of the fruit that we picked had these like beautiful, ripe, plush flavors, but some of the fruit that was a little further behind still had this like racy, zippy acidity. So I think you really get the best of both worlds in this wine, where it's like bright and lean, but also like super fruity and super lifted and has this beautiful floral element to it.
Yeah. Yeah, we thought this would be the perfect pairing for Cassoulet Vert and grilled duck. It's got all those components that Corinne was just speaking about, and pairs beautifully with anything Andrea cooks.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what makes a cassoulet a cassoulet?
Wait, can we have a cheers first?
Yeah!
Well, first of all, I love cooking with Birdhorse Wines because the wines are made so thoughtfully with really delicious grapes. I was gonna say ingredients, but they're your ingredients. But, and they're so well balanced, and there's always such a pretty acidity on them that they're very food friendly, which obviously as someone who wants to eat and cook all the time, I really appreciate that. So, I love you guys. So thank you.
Yeah, goes both ways.
So a cassoulet, oh wait, I don't know what this is.
So great.
It is. And like that's, you know, I love that, like how I'm just like salivating. There's like such a pretty structure that's there that I think is gonna go so nicely with this duck.
Thank you.
And then like the acidity, so it's like super bright and refreshing. So yes, I want to tell you about cassoulet because we're gonna make it, but I need to turn on this thing first so that we can start with the duck. And actually, could one of you, Jenny, could you turn that on, and then Corinne, and then I'm gonna start with this. So this is our first time doing this together, so it's a super fun new experience.
Bear with us.
Yeah, bear with us. So I have a duck breast here from Liberty Farms over in Sonoma, so definitely want to shout out to them. And Jen also makes really delicious wines, raft wines, so if you see those anywhere.
Also available at
Miracle Plum. Thank you. And so what I'm doing with this is I'm just going to marinate it really quickly with a little bit of pomegranate molasses, just like barely any, because it's pretty intense. But it also has like a nice kind of acidity and a little bit of a sweetness to it. And then salt. You always want salt with meat. And then the last thing I have is ras el hanout, which is actually like my favorite spice to put on duck. I love it.
Ooh, is it really?
Yeah, I love to like you'll get the duck like after the fat like starts to render a little bit, you pull it off after it's all crispy. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then you sorry, what I'm trying to say is that I'll show you, but you get the skin all crispy, and then when you pull it off, you put the spice on it, and it's really good. So we were originally going to grill this today, but there's a red flag warning, and we're in Calistoga, and we don't want to start another fire, so we're doing it on the skillet instead. And so this is a cold skillet, so anytime you're making duck breast and you want a crispy skin, this is what you do. You put it in
pro tip.
you put it in a cold skillet, and then you just let it come up to temp and start to render on its own. And then we'll see, like, once it gets cooked like 3/4 of the way through, we'll flip it, and then we'll just finish it on the other side, and then you'll get this like super crispy skin. But
why a cold skillet instead of a hot skillet?
So Mr. Harold McGee would probably answer this question for us better, but in my experience, it allows the fat to render out slower rather than just like a quick sear, so you don't burn the skin. You let it like slowly render and then come up to a crispiness on its own.
Nice.
But if we were doing this on a grill, which is what this recipe was for, we would have put it on a very hot grill, like screaming hot, clean grill, well oiled, and then turned the heat down if it was gas. So you start it on high heat, then turn it down to low heat. Or you start it on the hot side of your grill and leave it there for a few minutes until it releases, and then move it over to the cooler side of your grill. And you let it finish cooking there. And it just creates this like crackling kind of skin that's really, really delicious.
I wish you guys could smell the ras el hanout right now getting cooked up in this pan. It has this beautiful like aromatic sweetness to it. I know whenever we cook with it in our kitchen, it like fills the air, and you'd almost mistake it for somebody baking, but it's super beautiful.
Thanks, Corinne. So yeah, I'm excited for us to eat that. So that just is like about gonna do its thing, and it takes a little while. Like I would give it at least like 10 to 20 minutes, like if you want to rest it properly. And then I'm just going to move on to the cassoulet real fast here. So I want to show you these beans that have been braising without breaking glasses.
She's so strong.
So strong.
So this is this like really lovely little bean, And we soaked it overnight, and then we cooked it with a kombu.
A whole,
Which is
and that's
right
a
here.
whole.
That's a whole one.
What are they called? Paddle? Panel?
Oh gosh,
I don't
a
know.
finger. I'm not sure what they're called officially.
The unit of kombu.
And what is it about kombu instead of another seaweed that you thought worked so well with this recipe?
Well, I love the kombu because it gives off a lot of nice gelatin and like a salty sea flavor. Also with beans, they help break down the enzymes, so it's helpful in like human digestion. And then I also put in half of an onion, just like rough, kind of basically cut into 4. And then some garlic cloves, just whole. And so I'm just removing those like garlic cloves right now. Oh yeah, so back to your question. Cassoulet was originally made in France, and it was a bean and meat dish, and so it would often have pork and duck and different things in it, and it was a way to preserve those meats throughout the winter. And so they would cook the beans with these various meats like sausages and duck confit and different things, and then they would put them in this clay dish and then cover it with fat, and then it would be stored over winter. So hold on, hold please. It's getting burned. Oh crud, that like is super burned. Damn it. So we're cooking with fire outside, and it's a little bit challenging, so don't do this at home. I basically just ruined this, but it's still gonna be good underneath the burned skin. Sorry. So back to the beans. So you always want to season everything. I cook them just with water, kombu, onion, garlic, and I add the salt after they're done into the liquid, and then that will absorb. There are different schools of thought on it. Sometimes if you add the salt at the beginning, then it hardens the outer shell and it doesn't allow the beans to become as soft as they possibly can. But so I always like to add it at the end after they've had a chance to cook fully, and then the salt goes in. And then, so because this isn't a traditional cassoulet with all of the meat in it, we are going to add these green things. So I have chard here, and the chard is just gonna get chopped, and it'll finish cooking in the juices in the beans.
And so do you pull any of the liquid, I'm sorry if you said this, do you pull any of the liquid out of the beans that are already cooking at this point?
That's a great question. So I do actually take the some of the liquid out because you want it to be like kind of saucy.
Thicker, yeah.
So every time you add a new ingredient, just add a little pinch of salt. And this chard was just raw, and it's just gonna finish cooking in the liquid there with the beans. If you can see that, it's like
Beautiful.
gonna do that. And then the last piece to this is making the little pea stew. And you know, my company is called Mortar Pestle Cooking, and it's called that for a reason because I love using a mortar and pestle.
Heck yeah.
And this one is just gonna add like a bunch of extra kind of zhuzhing flavor to it. So it's gonna give it a little bit of creaminess, a little bit of more flavor because we're adding some olive oil and this like crushed garlic and some herbs and preserved lemon.
Yum.
So good. And I forgot to say that when you cook your beans, if you have a Parmesan cheese rind, you can just throw that in there and it'll like give it this extra lusciousness. That wasn't on the recipe, but it's really good. So
Yeah, never throw away your Parmesan rinds.
exactly. Never. So I just want to crush that garlic up, and then I'm adding to it, I have some dried mint. but it's really whatever herbs you like. You can use fresh or dried. This mint came out of my garden, and if you grow mint, you might be familiar with its abundance.
Robust.
Very robust.
Very robust. Very difficult to kill if need be.
Yeah. And it has this almost like oregano, like minty kind of like thing that it takes on. So I quite like to just dry it out on a sheet pan, just on a table or like in a dehydrator, and then pull the leaves off. And then you kind of mix it in there.
Did our gas run out?
I think the flame went out.
That's right.
Again,
This is the
Outdoor
only
cooking.
time I've ever burned a duck skin. I have to say, the only time in my life. And it happened today, so that's great.
we're all learning together.
We're all learning together.
We are.
We're cooking outdoors in
Yeah.
a backyard. We're just doing our best.
And I told Corinne and Katie earlier how badly I suck at live TV.
And we
or
said,
film.
nonsense.
I get really nervous, so they are like super troopers, but not, I mean, kind of, you're funny like super troopers, but
Can I get a liter of cola?
I think you and Corinne together really
we're,
are the stars of the
Take this
show.
on the road, really.
we could.
You do wear aviators too.
I do.
I haven't owned a pair in years, but I could bring that look back.
I mean, mine are really Eric's,
Yeah.
so. So anyway, I have some preserved lemons here, which I preserved with my friend Allie, who might be on there. Hey, Allie. She is a great chef and lives in Napa and has a catering company, Allie Phelps. But anyway, this is preserved lemons.
How do you preserve lemons?
These, what you do is you take lemons and you cut them into fours. Well, you cut them twice. So they're in 4 pieces, but they're not all cut all the way through. They're like almost all the way down to the bottom. And then you stuff them with salt. And then you pack them into a jar and cover them with salt. And you can take some lemon juice and put it in there. You could take herbs. I often will like to put cardamom pods and rose hips and maybe some star anise. And I mix it all in. And then you just let it sit for like a year.
Oh, wow.
6 months. You can do, so that's for the whole ones. It takes them a longer time to soften.
Cool.
You can also slice them into rounds and stack them and pack them that way, and they'll go quicker.
And how long will that keep for? If you just forgot about it. If I put this in the back of our cupboard and then we move in like 2 to 3 years,
Yeah.
is it still usable?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I mean, as long
Salt
as
cures. Yeah.
as
That
long
makes
as they're buried underneath like a thick layer of salt like that, your lemons will be fine. Sometimes if there's air, they'll get a little moldy on the top, and you just scoop those off and chuck them, and then you can use what's the rest.
And
of
do you
it.
always do this with regular lemons, or do you use Meyer lemons, or?
I mean, Meyer's are my preference, absolutely. But if you don't have Meyer lemons, then
Store-bought is fine.
yeah, then whatever you can find. You can preserve kumquats. You can do other kinds of citrus like that as well.
Kumquats.
Ooh,
I've never thought about that before. That would be so cool.
They're really good, and they're great for like a little charcuterie board. You can just like cut them in half. Yeah, you can do a lot of things.
Gotta
with
find a
them.
kumquat tree.
All right, so this duck is actually almost cooked. So anyway, we've got the preserved lemon in here, mint, garlic, and I like to smush those all around first to make like a paste. I don't know if you can see that. And then I'll add the herbs next, but this is kind of like the foundation. So I like to do that first. And then next is the herbs, and I have parsley and mint here, but you can really use any herbs you like. I mean, the more the better. If you have rosemary, thyme, marjoram. Actually saw that you guys have some. They have.
Yeah, do you
Do you
want
want
some
us to
thyme?
forage some time? Right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have an amazing garden here, by the way, and it's like so beautiful with all these herbs everywhere. So we're gonna steal some, and then olive oil, just basically like making a pesto.
So when you're saying pea stew, is that Pistou?
Yeah, it's just French for pesto.
Oh, okay.
It's like a French pesto.
I thought you were
They make
saying
'em-
pea stew, like as though we were making green pea soup. Because I am a troglodyte and I don't speak French like the rest of you.
I did think
so.
you were saying pea stew at first also, for the
Yeah.
record.
I love it.
But we're all here to learn.
We're all learning together today.
Learning together.
Learning together. Always learning together.
Always learning. Always learning together. Pea stew,
Pea stew.
which we'll make in the springtime.
Like
Yeah.
actual pea stew.
Yeah, when the peas come out.
Okay.
Yes.
If you have a food processor, you could use that for this as well. But I'm just here making a mess, kind of with getting this broken down. And again, this is like a rustic meal. It doesn't need to be super duper, like smooth. It's gonna, the herbs are gonna kind of melt into the sauce.
Yum.
If you've been struggling to get to the gym because of COVID and quarantine,
Highly
this is
recommend.
this is a good daily regimen.
Just all of your spices
Yeah.
in a mortar and pestle.
I mean, well, you should wear a pencil anyways.
That's true.
That's
Fresh
true.
spices.
Plus bread baking. You do this and bread baking, you'll be so buff.
Your forearms would just be so robust.
I mean, I feel like you're describing, the era of COVID.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Not that we can enter arm wrestling competitions right
No.
now because,
Yeah.
6 feet of distance and all, but once
Virtually though.
virtual arm wrestling.
That's something.
I would
Sounds
love
like
to
a
know
new
more.
adventure.
Yeah.
So this is what it looks like now.
Beautiful.
It's like very,
Wow.
Yum.
Ooh la la.
what do you call it?
Delicious?
delicious.
Beautiful. Green.
Soupy, green, and
Pulverized.
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 Thoroughly processed.
So now I'm just gonna pour that.
Ooh.
Wait a second. Let me just maneuver here. Oh, why thank you.
Yeah, but
Okay. That's just as an aside, that's like one thing with a lot of cooks, and it's one thing that I learned. You're the boss in the kitchen, not the food or like not your cutting board or your knife or anything. So if it's not working for you, if it's not in the right place, just get it out of there,
Yeah.
move it, make it
Just
work for
table
you.
flip it.
That's
and
it.
Just
Like Alan Rickman in Tea Time with Alan Rickman. Have you guys seen that?
no.
If you guys haven't seen it, you need to look it up. It's really funny.
sounds fabulous.
It is really good.
Just tell which way I'm turning this.
I quite love that noise.
Oh, wow.
One thing that you didn't see me do, that's my bad, is that I didn't taste this before I poured it in here. So don't do that. Always taste everything. Don't follow my bad example. All right.
We just know it's going to be delicious.
Yeah,
So.
exactly.
And then you just mix it in here. Oh, there's a big garlic. You could have put garlic in there too. Oh, we did. Never mind. All right. So I'm gonna taste this now.
Do it.
So here's the first bite. So I'm just gonna show you guys a little bite of it here. So see, you've got your beans, charred, your like delicious liquid in there.
It smells amazing.
After a long day working out in the cold, in the fields, on the farm, you come in and you're a Frenchman with a robust mustache and you just want a hearty meal to warm your soul.
And this is what you do
This is what you do.
in California because we love
I mean,
freshness.
We do.
What if we're just
Vegetables
robust
and herbs.
farm working ladies?
That's also true. That's also true. Anybody can work on a farm.
Anyone can do it.
It's the 21st century. Ladies work on farms. Men work on farms. Dogs work on farms.
It's gender neutral.
Gender
a
neutral.
farm job.
Anybody can work on a farm.
100%.
Yeah. So remember that.
Yeah.
So if you two lovelies would, oh, there's one other thing. So this thing I made at a dinner last night, and it's just this really delicious honey nut squash, which is like a little baby miniature butternut squash, which is the size of your palm. And I roasted it with togarashi, which is a like a chili spice blend from Japan, and it has a good amount of heat on it. And then when I put it in the blender to puree it, I put in the zest and the juice of 1 lemon. So it's just like super lemony. It's got a little bit of spice at the background, and then it has that like delicious fall squashy kind of vibe going on to it. So I thought that I would bring this, and then when we plate up this cassoulet, we could have just a little dollop of it on top to like swirl in, and it'll be delicious. But if you guys wanted to try that, and then so now I'm gonna slice the duck because it's been resting. And again, yours won't look like this. Yours will be like golden brown. I just you know.
The tricky thing about a camp stove is it has 2 settings. It is either on 100% of the way, or it's off. And so you, as a human person who has control over your stove, can probably moderate that a little bit more.
This is going to be more on the rare side, but that's okay. And I don't know, actually, Katie, do you want to put some of that in?
Yeah.
In there.
Do it from there.
So, you know, I've got a bit of a mess. Oh, wait a second.
What do you need?
Oh, I was just looking for my little. I'm just gonna get the. All right, so here's our board, and so you take your duck breast off, and it's definitely undercooked, but that's okay.
Do you want to cook a little longer?
It's, I don't know.
This is for
I'm
the
just
camera.
Yeah, I'm just gonna show this to you guys, but I'll give like a more detailed, and maybe I'll do a video of like the proper way to cook a duck breast, which isn't this, but, so you just cut it, and I like to put it on the skin side down, because I've just found that it's like easier to get your blade to go through without like messing it up. And you just cut it kind of on a bias, and down you go, just in this process, just like all along the way here.
Oh, that looks beautiful.
Yeah, you're right, it does, it looks good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait, this is cooked perfectly.
Well, it's kind of rare.
It looks delicious though.
So this is actually a teachable moment. So see how this is like rare. It's not pink, it's just like not cooked. And see how much fat is still on here. So what happened was this skin, the fat cap burned before it had an opportunity to render all the way. So it got too hot too fast, and then it just kind of, it just burned it. So if it had been a lower temperature over a longer period of time, then this fat would have rendered, and that would have been brown, and then this part would have gotten cooked. So it's a learning moment. So I'm sorry, Liberty Duck, that I messed you up like that, but you still taste good. And then, even though maybe just for us to eat, I'll put this back on to like finish cooking it, but you always want to like put a little extra salt over the top just to finish it. And then
For the cassoulet, do you strain out the liquid when you're serving it, when you're plating it, or what's your vibe?
I like to put a little bit of it in there because
Okay.
it's like kind of saucy and delicious.
Yeah.
And then if we had another spoon,
We certainly do.
then we can add just a little scoop of this,
Do-do-do.
kind of, because also this is gonna like, you want to like mix it in there. So I should say the cassoulet is vegan, and if you wanted to keep it that way, obviously don't add duck. You could do like a squash or something that you roast to put on top of that. So so I would say you could put your little dollop on top of it like that, and then you can just kind of mix it in, you know, however you want to, and then you can eat it that way. So,
Wow.
you know, so there you go. So we can taste it, and I'm just gonna put that back in there. So yeah, if this did happen to you and you were like, oh crud, I've got people coming over that I need to feed, and like my duck's not done, You can still cut it. You can put it out in a pan and it'll cook pretty quickly. And it might not be exactly like the ideal version that you're looking for, but it'll cook through and then you can still have that. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna cheat. So that's all I've got, and I don't know if you two lovely ladies have anything to add.
No, we were just gonna say thank you so much for teaching us.
Yeah.
And for cooking this beautiful food with us, and we're so excited to actually eat this with some of our wine.
Yeah, it smells amazing.
It smells so good.
Yeah, good. I love your wine. I am excited to drink more of this myself. Cheers!
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers!
My glass is too far away.
And thanks so much for joining us today,
Yeah,
everybody.
hope you
This
guys
was
had
so
a
much
good
fun.
time.
Yeah, thank you, you guys. And if you have any questions, just DM me. And I'll make sure if they're for Corinne and Katie for Birdhorse Wines or for Miracle Plum, I'll make sure to forward it to them. So, bye.
Thanks,
Happy
everybody.
Happy Sunday.